Hi. Good afternoon, I suppose. It's the 25th, and I feel terrible today. I have a little bit of like a migraine situation. Okay. So first of all, so just like ignore the way that I look. Okay, just ignore it. First of all, we're only 1 week out from the end of this challenge, which is crazy, and I think I'm both gonna be relieved because I do think that me having to make a video every day is eating into my studying time, and maybe it wasn't like the wisest decision to do this challenge with exam season coming up, but whatever. And I'm also, I think, going to miss a lot of things. Like, it's still a week, but I'm going to miss like the ceremony. I'm going to miss the daily chats with my fellow participants in the challenge, Leigh, Mateo, and Cynthia. I'm going to miss the daily prompt, even though, as I've said already, I'm really excited for. I'm literally like the next day I'm doing another challenge, but like when I'm not hosting myself, and yeah, like what is it called? The Travel Club, I think. That is Dana's challenge with a daily travel with a prompt that she provides, which I'm very, very, very excited for. This daily video is also giving me this accountability. Like today, I do not think that I would have sat down and written anything. I have done a little bit of some sprints, and they also like, coincided with Cynthia and Mateo, thankfully, which helped. And I was writing the beginning of the scene that I don't know how many days. Apparently this has been my struggle for the week. So like in terms of word count and like getting ahead in the story, I wasn't too successful this week. But I also think like mostly this challenge for me is about like getting into the groove of it, getting back into the groove of writing every day, and then I can build upon that. And doing loads of talking all over the place, I feel like. Did I do my one thing? Well, yesterday I made a plan, which I thought was really smart of me. Made a plan for what I have to do today. Now, the problem is twofold. First of all, I started with the ceremony, which was such a cool thing to do. Okay, it was really fun, really inspiring, really great for me as a writer. I think like I love all of these little ways that I'm stretching my creative muscles. But let me explain real quick. So I took this book. It's called Foreshadow: Stories to Celebrate the Magic of Reading and Writing YA, and it has like short stories from various writers, and then in addition, after each story there is also like a commentary on it. I haven't gotten very far into reading it, as you can see, but I was just like leafing through it and held my camera like I wasn't like looking at the pages as a reader per se. I was like looking at the pages through the lens of my camera and like zoomed in and just like in search of interesting lines and interesting like fractions of lines. And I took I took about 80 photos, and then like made a scrapbook poem out of them. Not all of them, but like build around that, sort of like a puzzle. I can really recommend as like a prompt exercise as well. So anyway, that's what I started with my day instead of writing, so that took some time. Not necessarily my wisest decision, perhaps, because I still have homework to do, etc. But, and then the other problem was that I was like overdoing it with the sensory stimulation, because while I was working on it, I was also listening to an audiobook and then listening to like some YouTube stuff, and that was too much for my brain. And so, and like, yeah. And so I developed like this migraine, which makes me not able to do a lot of things, and I kind of need to nap, and the naps don't even work that well. So, not my greatest decisions, perhaps, even though I don't regret the poem because it's really cool. Okay, have I answered the question yet? Whether I did my one thing? Like, my one thing was preparing for today. I also had like some stuff cooked, but like I tried to do a little bit of planning ahead, you know. And then I didn't do the writing though, first thing, which should have been, which I think was part of the plan, but when do I really follow my plan exactly? You know, so something to still work on, I think. But it was the pressure of like having to film a check-in that made me sit down and write, and I wanted to at least get 500 words in, and I managed that. I wrote in total 581 words in the scene, and honestly, I am so happy with the words that I was writing today. I was really enjoying it. I started with a prompt to get me going. I literally wrote the words Marta awoke, and then I drew a prompt, and the prompt was a smell, and the smell was rotting flower. Like, without really knowing whether it was supposed to go, I just wrote like Marta awoke to the smell of rotting flowers, and just it went on from there, and it really flowed. I was enjoying the words. It's only the very beginning, to be honest, of that scene slash chapter, because I'm not one to be short. Actually, I have to hurry up now because I intend not to spend any time on video editing really today. And now it's time for the prompt, and we have 7 prompts left. I have no idea which ones are left though. Which, like, obviously I could cheat and look at the 31 prompts and see which ones we haven't drawn yet, but I prefer to be surprised. There you go. And it says, oh, nice, okay. Take 3 of my favorite books. What is something that I love that they all have in common? I think I will have to consult the story graph to see which ones are my favorite books, because that is a difficult question, and past Tanya has already spent some brain grease on that. Are you happy with that expression, brain grease? Kind of gross. But we do have the word elbow grease, right? Anyway, okay. Okay. So on the story graph, I have like a lot of books tagged with the tag favorites, which is just something that I do for myself. And then you can also have on your profile page, you can have this little bookshelf with your 5 absolute favorites, and the books that I have on there are Radiant by Karina Sumner-Smith, Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo, Ace of Shades by Foody, The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins, and Get Alive, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. These are the ones that I had chosen, and I don't think anything has changed really about the placement. to choose 3 of them. Okay, if we go by like the books that are both my favorites and that also inform like the kind of writer I want to be, maybe. Well, I wanted to say Six of Crows, Ace of Shades, and Hunger Games, but actually, Hunger Games isn't really like I love it. I think it's superbly written and structured and everything, but it's not really what I strive my books for my books to be. So I think I would actually have to say Radiant, Six of Crows, and Ace of Shades, which is an interesting group, and I love them all dearly. Okay, so Six of Crows very obviously is a huge inspiration together with the show Shadow and Bone for my first work in progress, Echoes and Waves. Same goes, honestly, for Ace of Shades. Both of those are... Six of Crows is a heist. Obviously, everyone knows that. It's a fantasy heist, YA. First of all, they're all YA, okay? Ace of Shades is about groups of teenage gangsters, but make it magic and with card games of really high stakes. Is really cool, and I really wish more people read these books. Same for Radiant. Like, I've never heard anyone talk about Radiant. I love this book. So I think both of those have in common like the teenagers doing crime, also like teenagers being kind of hyper competent for their age in a way, like, and being hyper independent because there's like no adults in sight, or at least no supervision or whatever. And they both have like an ensemble, right? A group of characters. Six of Crows obviously has the 6 crows, and Ace of Shades has mostly like they're different gang groups, and like basically we end up with like I think like 2 we're split across 2 gangster groups. We also have in both of them we have several POVs. Both of them are in kind of a gritty world, which fits all of the crime, obviously. Also, honestly, the card games, because, and I'm leaving out Radiant right now because those 2 are so similar, I think, in a lot of ways, actually. Six of Crows has the Crow Club, which is a gambling den. And Ace of Shades has this, what is that called? I haven't read them in a while, I think. It has this shadow game, which is a card game with like deadly stakes and everything, and also kind of magical. Yeah, sorry, I'm just in vain trying to massage away the migraine. Anyway, so those 2 have a lot of common, I think. You can even see it like in the font of the covers. Now, Radiant is, and both of them are fantasy. And also both of them are kind of, even in the time period that is kind of simulated, is like similar, I would say. There are guns rather than swords, you know, but also it's not contemporary, it's not the real world, but with magic. Now, Radiant is, I would say it's like a sci-fi fantasy, and also post-apocalyptic dystopian type thing, I guess. So like we're in a world where everything is really difficult to understand, to explain, I think. There are these towers, really, really tall towers, where like everything happens in these towers, and these towers like kind of have an affiliation to them. The towers are also kind of alive in a strange way, and they can like consume each other, if I remember correctly. And then there are also ghosts, and we have 2 main characters, and I don't remember if we are in both of their POVs, but I think we aren't, I'm not entirely sure. It's also been a while. The human POV, the main character, as I would say, is like she can see ghosts. And she comes across this ghost who like is kind of tethered to her father. But like, oh god, let me try to explain this. Ghosts are like exploited for energy, kind of used as these spools of energy to power towers. It's really a terrible thing, really. And so this girl, this ghost, I don't remember if she like, I think she escaped. God, I need to reread that. I remember especially like the world building is really cool, and there's like the atmosphere is delicious. And also what I love is the, like, to me, I'm not entirely sure if it has some romantic undertones, but I think to me it's like a platonic love story between two girls, and there's so much yearning and so much tenderness and caring, and it is so beautiful. I freaking love it. It's gorgeous. So where is the connection with the three of them if we take Radiant also into account? I mean, I guess they're, all three of them are kind of gritty, necessarily YA fantasy, but they all have fantasy elements or and are have young adult main characters. It's a lot about the interpersonal relationships between the characters, even though in Radiant it is just the two of them. Like, very much found family in all three of them, very much. They all have like high stakes and death and action, actually, even though I never would consider myself very much a reader for action, but I suppose yes, for like deadly stakes. In all three of them, there's a lot about being on the fringes, because the two girls in Radiant, they have like they're like, to be in a tower, you kind of have to have money or like be of a certain standing, if I remember correctly. And like the human girl has been having to like hide in tunnels and stuff like underground for basically all her life, because she could never make it to a tower. And like at night, you have these like basically zombies, like basically the bodies stripped of their ghosts, roaming the streets, and they're really dangerous, because they're zombies basically. So they're on the fringes, same as like the Six of Crows and the Gangsters and Ace of Shades. They're all series, like Six of Crows is a duology, Radiant a trilogy, and same with Ace of Shades. I think I guess mostly it's about the grittiness, about the found family, about the being on the fringes, the high stakes, and the being there for each other. And there's a lot of earnestness because it's YA. And I'm sure if I looked at the writing style, there's also like certain similarities, because none of them I would describe as like dry. I suppose they're all serious books, like they're not humorous. Even though I think Leigh Bardugo has a lot of humor in her books. I think that's where I'm gonna leave it, because I have filmed for too long again. I would love to hear what your 3 favorite books are, if you can choose 3, and if you can pinpoint anything that they all have in common. Let me know in the comments, and otherwise we will see each other tomorrow. Goodbye.